Hey guys, it's Salty Polly, and I couldn't help notice that there's been an awful lot of salt gathering on the internet over the last few months, particularly pointing towards the topic of games. Now the question is, what does this mean for the gaming market? Well, we have finally reached the apex of what I would call the normating, or where everybody needs to be able to play these things. So let's take a look at this article called, "Now Ubbies Open the Door, Can We Have Our Skip Boss Fight Button?" This is similar to saying, I see some people playing soccer, but I would prefer to just sniff the grass. Ubisoft made a fascinating announcement this week. They revealed that the latest Assassin's Creed is to add a Discovery Tour mode, removing all the combat and challenges from the game to let players just freely experience their in-depth recreation of ancient Egypt. So it's a movie then. They've made a movie that you can walk around in. It's fascinating to me because it's a big deal. And goodness me, it shouldn't be a big deal, because games should be delighted to include modes that remove all their difficulty and challenge. What? And players should cheer when they hear about it. There's nothing I love more than taking the challenge out of a game, because then it's not a game. What? Wait. What would Mario be without Goombas? You just walk from one end to the other of the screen. What would be the point of that? Do you understand how that's not rewarding to anybody? But I'm going to explain why I think that is in a second. Oddly enough, a lot of players don't cheer. In fact, people can get awfully angry about it. Since the announcement, I've seen on Twitter a combination of people declaring, "Hooray, I'm interested in playing Assassin's Creed for the first time in years." Jesus. Alongside others pointing towards those utterly furious that it demeans their hobby, cheapens games, and most heinous of all, lets in the riffraff. I say bring on the riffraff. Do you know who the riffraff is? Do you know who they're talking about? Basically, gaming has come up from a culture born from the late 80s to early 90s. And it was despised. It still is. It's looked down upon as an antisocial, garbage tier hobby. And people have spent lots of years trying to get good at these games. Well, all of a sudden, now games are really fun and available to everybody. And so now we need to, we've got a core audience of gamers, and now we need to appeal to people who don't game at all. Yes, that demeans the hobby. How can you not understand that? That's like saying, well, we're gonna open a soccer club, but for the people that are bad at soccer, we're just gonna let you guys use your hands. And also, we're just gonna remove the goals, so there's not really points. And I actually, teams shouldn't be allowed either, because that's unfair to people who are not good at working in teams. So I would just prefer if you guys would sort of just pass the ball on the field to each other while holding hands. Thank you. You need to have challenges and strategy in order to make a player feel rewarded. However, these challenges are painful roadblocks for people who do not want to play games. So I have to ask, why are you trying to play games all of a sudden? Why are you trying to remove the game from the video game? Why should you be included in this if you won't step up to complete the challenges? You do realize that gaming as a hobby and culture is a shared experience between all the people who have played said game. You cannot just remove the game optionally because it demeans the relationship shared between all the players who have completed the game. It's a money grab to appeal to people like you who need chicken tendies on a daily basis. And to remove you from your chicken tendy zone is a bad feeling. And you demand Daddy Ubisoft bring you your tendies on a hot plate. I'm not playing dumb here. I'm not being coy. I know an awful lot of what's made gaming culture such a miserably toxic environment over the last few years is deeply wrapped up in subjects like this. And those who spread the toxicity are those most likely to be on the side of condemning gaming options that remove challenge, that make the hobby more accessible to the crowds. Yes, but that's not toxic. If that's the case, all social hierarchy in any form would be toxic. Any form of competition or challenge is toxic to you. Any environment where someone can be good and understand the depth of what makes them good is toxic, because it's putting a skill wall in front of you. So the real question here is, why do you not want to be good at games? Why is it that you don't want to be good at games? And the answer to this is, you are not interested. You are not interested. You look down on people who are good at them. But you would also like to experience all the good-feel chicken tendies associated with gaming. So you would like your chicken tendies without paying the cost. Sorry, buddy. That's not how this is going to work. But at the same time, I'm not going to allow that sewage to pollute my opinions. Yes, the sewage of social hierarchy. My God. And my delight in expressing those opinions, and I've long been arguing that gaming can be a far better place if the industry would just introduce the skip boss fight button. Basically, the tendies button is what I'm going to call this. Bring me my fucking tendies, Ubisoft. I need my good feelings right now. Don't you fucking put a wall between me and my tendies. Yes, of course, skip boss fight is a totem for my larger point here, and it's a title under which I'd include Ubi's recent announcement, despite their rather awkwardly trying to wrap it all up as wanting to be edumacational. It's the spirit, such as in option captures, and it's one that I think the industry would do well to breathe deeply into the souls. Basically cash grabbing for Normans, or what EA has just done with a bunch of tendy boxes. Hey, do you guys suck at this game, but still want to play in an online competitive environment? No problem. Just give us your money, and we will deliver tendies directly to your house in the form of unbalanced garbage that allows you to beat other players that are better than you with upgradable tendy packs. This is ground I've covered before, but each time there's been a very similar reaction. In 2009, I suggested it was daft that I'm not able to just skip ahead while playing game. I play game real good, ma. like I could in a film, book, or TV show. Oh, you're one of those dirty backbook readers, aren't you? You're one of those people that buys a book and then reads the fucking end before they just start it. What the fuck? Of course that's daft. I wrote back in 2012 about the idea of being able to skip fights as a reaction to this despicable response to BioWare's Jennifer helpless suggestion that game combat should be skippable. You're right. You're right. Why program something that's incredibly hard to do, which is game balance, when you could just skip all that and get directly to your fucking tendies? Why should there ever be an uncomfortable moment exposing you for the Norman that you are, who is unable to be good at this? Why should you have to be good when you could just earn the tendies for free? Last year I talked about how deeply peculiar is the perceived notion that people have to be good at games for them to be properly enjoyed. Yes. I mean, you don't have to be good at basketball to enjoy basketball. But you actually do need to put the ball in the hoop, jackass. Of course they don't. And in light of this seismic, that shouldn't be, it shouldn't be announcement regarding Ass Creed Unit. What? Ass Creed Unit? I'd play that game. That sounds like a very dirty game. That sounds like a game where maybe you'd want to skip the combat, actually. I want to reiterate it once more. Let other people play games their way. That actually requires you to play the game. You see, there's a very big difference in, say, reducing the difficulty of a game and removing the game entirely. And that difference is bowling. Playing bowling normally has penalty gutters on the sides that say, well, you threw a shitty ball and now you get no points. Some people choose to remove that difficult penalty by putting bumpers on the sides, so you'll pretty much get points every time. What you are suggesting is the ability to walk down the bowling lane, kick the pins over, receive your tendies, and go home. No. Get out. Get out. The reaction against these thoughts is one of us and them, and a desire to keep them from getting near the us. Them are all ordinary, inexpert, mediocre, or worst of all, new. While us are expert, experienced, hardcore, and elite. Well, no. It's us is the people who have played games and still do play games, and the them is normies who are being advertised by these large companies in order to get cash, and destroying all the balance and meaning behind the games that they had in the first place. And the reason that people resent that is, them have not respected gaming since the dawn of time. So why should you be let in if you're not going to pay the cost of coming in? It's a very small price. You pick up the controller, you play as Mario, and you jump on the Goomba. That's the smallest price ever! Gaming has always been inclusive. The idea that there was this golden age when all games were cripplingly hard and only the chosen were able to play is bullshit. In fact, back in these imagined halcyon years, was when games invariably came with cheat codes, god modes, and all sorts of ways to subvert and play differently. No, they didn't. No. I mean, yes, there are some god modes like in Doom, okay? But that's mostly just for fun. I mean, I can tell maybe you don't have a lot of experience with this, but there's all kinds of cheats that were put into Grand Theft Auto. And you could just run around with infinite ammo shooting people up. But you'll soon discover, as many people do, that that fun lasts for about maybe, 1 hour. It is literal sugarcoating to attract normies to just buy the game, play for an hour, get their free tendies, and go home. Well, you bought my game, so we get lots of money. Yes, that does happen to ruin the game for the rest of us. Also, the argument that it will be an option to just remove that content not only is disrespectful to the people who have to make this game, because they have to balance it, and then you're just gonna skip the thing that they made. But once again, why don't you want to play the game, I think is the more important question here. And despite the outright tear that articles like this are harming their precious gaming, that the outsiders are changing games to what self-identifying us perceive as worse, we're currently experiencing a heyday for super high difficulty, super challenging, extremely tough games like we never have before. Funny that. Yeah, funny that extremely challenging games happen to be the most rewarding. Funny that. Funny that the experience of overcoming something challenging is rewarding to human beings, and that shared relationship among all those who completed that challenge is something that makes this a great culture and experience and hobby for others. My goodness. I bought a Nintendo Switch recently, and have been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild as much as I possibly can. Gosh, it really is quite the thing to be able to just pick up your game off the TV and play it on the train. I sincerely hope a PC equivalent is happening. It's an extraordinary game, vast and intricate and ludicrously alive. But because it's a Zelda game, hell, because it's a Nintendo game, it has boss fights. Really, dude? Really? I can do them! Okay! They're much easier than the average. I still hate them. Literally, Zelda fights are the easiest bosses in the entire world. It's a giant red glowy thing. You press the button to swing at it. A good game. You might have to solve a puzzle or two to figure out how to get access to the glowy thing. I mean, it couldn't be easier. People have complained about those being easy for the longest time. I hate them. For me, because I find them incongruous to the rest of the game they're in. There are exceptions, games where a boss is in fact a sequence that asks you to employ all you've learned so far, the gaming equivalent of a comprehension test, and these work so well. But they're rare, like rubies. Rubbies? You mean rupees? Or rubbies? I'm just gonna call these rubbies. Like mommy's good rubbies for being a good tendy boy. And it's almost always just a difficulty spike. But I also hate them for other people who aren't as good at games as I am. I am average good at games. For whom I know these are not boss fights, but endpoints. They are massively impassable obstacles between them and the fun they could be having afterward. That's right, you must earn your fun. If you want to be a part of this hobby and culture, you need to earn that fun. You need to earn the rewards for the relationship between all the people who have experienced the game to be meaningful. Allowing you to skip that demeans the experience shared between all the gamers. It does cheapen the entire community. I've long hated boss fights as chronicled perennially on these pages because their difficulty spikes as game design. There's something that should be rooted out by beta testing somehow being given feature status. What? Okay. And yes, for some reason, people love them so. But just as many, if not more, can't stand them. Yes, people who want their tendies right now. Dark Souls wouldn't be a bloody genre if people didn't love a boss fight, but while it falls just short of selling 7 billion copies, it's inarguable that there are people who do not enjoy boss fights. And when your game is made out of boss fights tied together with string, then yes, it's plainly idiotic for a hater to buy it. I'm glad that you realize this. Here's the magic though, if games had a button that let you skip these incongruous segments so you could carry on enjoying the great game on the other side, that button could just as easily not be pressed. But I have just explained to you why that destroys the entire relationship shared between all the people who have played that game. If you could skip bosses in Dark Souls, that game experience is going to be very different for everyone. And saying you beat the game while skipping bosses has no meaning whatsoever. The argument against the skip button, the tourist mode, the skippable combat, the fast forward a level, all these ideas that keep coming up is always the same. It's always, but someone might press them. It's an enormously strong argument. Oh, it's not an enormously strong argument, all things considered, but I'd like to try to counter. Yes, they might. Goodness me. It's like a Hegelian dialectic here. Oh shit, I can't say that. Okay, it's slightly more nuanced than that, although it's never actually expressed truthfully. The argument tends to go, but someone other than me might press them, and then they get to see a bit of the game that was only meant for the deserving champions. Because the real nub of it is, what? Who says that? It's about exclusivity. No, it's about the rewards shared among people who play the game. There needs to be a shared experience for the rewards to be meaningful among those who have played it. This isn't about ego. It's about the reward you get from completing a challenge and sharing that reward with others who have completed said challenge. I think it's actually more toxic to demand that they remove this stuff so you don't have to get good. Why don't you want to just get better at the games? Don't you understand that when you openly say, I would prefer not to be good at this game and just receive my free tendies, what does that say about you? Like I've already said, you don't want to be better at games because you probably look down on being a gamer yourself. Holy shit. This goes on forever. Oh my god, why did I start reading this? Oh, I'm gonna do what you would rather do. Skip the rest of your article. How did that feel? You don't deserve this. Stay in your tendy box with your tendy boys and have a tendy time, and let the rest of us enjoy our hobby. If you would rather not play the game, then don't. Please go outside, sniff grass, kick your bowling pins over, sit down for mommy's rubbies, and eat your tendies. Alright guys, thanks for adding a little salt to your life. I'll see you soon.